Hi, my name's Amy Falcon. I'm with my friend Christopher Power, and we're talking about what's going on or why things are going on. And we're starting something called the Excalibur Institute. And it's time for what the Excalibur Institute's going to bring, because it's going to help people know what's going on and how to navigate it. So it's pretty crazy. People are really hurting. And Christopher and I have been having some really good talks, and I wanted to share that with you about what is going on and the pain that we're in and the crazy and the chaos and what's possible.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because a lot of what we would classify as ordinary people, middle class or down to earth people, they're experiencing very clearly or seeing very clearly this chaotic situation and feeling the emotional pain of it, and often the physical pain of it, and mental and all the stuff that's going on in the world. I was brought up in a very conservative, scientific, practical, religious family, but I've been involved with the alternative scene as well for over 50 years, since the 60s. And I've seen it go from being born to where it is now. And a lot of my friends who are very successful, and people I see around the world who are successful, some of them are really tuned into this and they have a compassionate, but a lot of them are busy running their own businesses, running their own lives, being teachers for other people. And they're, in some ways, as much or less in touch with this that's going on as everyday people. And I've often said it's the everyday people that are going to lead this change. Now, for 50 years, I've heard about the old paradigm and the old world and the new paradigm and the new world. And it's always been looked at as though the new paradigm is better and eventually it's going to overcome the old paradigm, and the old paradigm, which has been holding us back and pulling us down and full of terrible things, is going to go. Mm-hmm. And there are people out there teaching how to get in touch with it. And, some of it's absolutely brilliant, and some of it is absolutely tragic. It's ridiculous. Cancel culture and all the other rubbish that's going on in social media around it. It's missing the whole point, because there is a bottom line about this new paradigm. And the first thing is, it doesn't exclude the old paradigm. It's not here to conquer it. Otherwise, it automatically becomes the old paradigm itself.
Well,
it's not here to best it.
When you're saying old paradigm and new paradigm, I mean, I understand that, but what do we actually mean by that in a way that everyone else understands?
That's a great question, because there is so much complex information about there, and it is a complex situation. But one of the things I wanted to get across here was, what is the bottom line difference?
Well, first, what is it? I mean, what would you say is the old paradigm?
The old paradigm, say 8,000 years at least, we call it win-lose. We call it survival of the fittest. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line of it is this. So life and living is all about survival.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? Life and living is all about survival, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at you can look at anything that's happening in the world at the moment, and no matter how glossed up it is, when you look into it and you come to grips with it, if it's all about survival, it might call itself the new age, but it's not. It's the old paradigm. Now, here's the point I wanted to make just before. Survival really matters. It's important. So we're not going to get rid of survival, right? A new paradigm has to be inclusive and better, not better and conquering the old. It's got to come up with a better solution.
Yeah.
So
the way I see it, the way you're talking about it, it's about survival it's survival almost at any cost.
Beautiful. Exactly.
And that's the problem. Everybody's in survival at any cost.
Yes. Yes. And that's why life and living is all about survival.
Yeah.
And you put it much, much better, is survival at any cost. Now, the new paradigm, if you want a bottom line measure, something to sort of check it against, it is survival is handled, not eliminated, not doesn't exist, it's handled, and life and living is about love. The two things go together. Survival is handled.
How is it handled? If you don't feel like it's handled, if we're all like, how can my survival be handled? I don't feel like I've got anything handled.
Okay. So
that makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. And this is where I'm truly coming to grips with what is happening in the world at the moment. See, these paradigms ultimately are emotionally based. So because of survival being at any cost, our emotions for the last 8,000 years have driven us to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been, and you see this throughout society, we're driven by our emotions.
Yeah.
Now, if survival is handled, emotions aren't as stressed, right? Emotions aren't as dramatic or overblown or undervalued, right? What happens is emotions become something we can work with, something that can serve us, something that can make us far more aware and conscious. And emotional clarity is like precious beyond belief, because you become aware of what you are feeling and what you are thinking, and the two of them are working together. Your thoughts are helping you handle your feelings of needing to survive and thrive. And because you're surviving and thriving, your mind is thinking more creatively, more clearly, and then you weave those together and you get emotional clarity. Now, here's the thing. We've been driven by emotion for so long, and this has been used by everything from politicians to marketing to motivators for so long, that we've now, and I've seen this over 50 years of the whole New Age movement and the alternative approach, which is great, but it's got its problems, is we don't think we're surviving unless we have, well, a couple of $1 million in the bank. For most people, that's why lotteries are so, popular, because, oh my God, if I won $20 million, survival would be handled.
Oh man, that really rings true. I think about the people that I know, some people we both know personally as great examples of this. In the US, in the West, I know in the US anyway, there's a lot of talk, like for older people in retired or approaching retirement, on do I have enough money to retire? because there is a huge amount of fear. And this, of course, this takes us into stuff that I could say, hey, let's talk about this later. But I feel it's really important, is this idea, especially with folks who are struggling with how to take care of themselves and they're older and they're worried about their ability to be medically healthy, have enough to eat, their survival. And the expectation, the pressure is I have to have, and the storyline is I've got to have $1 million in the bank in order to just live reasonably comfortably in retirement years. And that's a big driving issue. And what this brings up for me is not only is it about survival at any cost, but it's survival at any cost includes what we do to ourselves to survive.
Yes, really. Wow, that's powerful. Look, here's the thing, we've got all the abundant stuff, particularly in America and Australia and the West. Look, my family is Thai. My whole family is Thai. Now, and they're rural Thai. They're not Bangkok Thai, they're rural Thai. And I have learned so much as a Westerner, right, from that. And it's not because they're dragging through the mud. They've got their struggles, but they deal with it better than most Westerners. And they've got, tough things to deal with. Now, here's the point. We've got all this abundant stuff going on. And it gives us a sense that unless we run a successful healing business, or we're a top quality sports person, or we've succeeded in politics, or we run this powerful economic engine, where I'm constantly, and I can live at a level of luxury and travel around the world and people, and it puts it out there. And there are people who need that and people who succeed at that and people who are very giving from that point of view. But it sort of sets a standard for the rest of us that goes, oh, well, we haven't handled survival yet. And frankly, once you've been to somewhere like Asia or Africa or India or various other places, South America, you suddenly realize we've had it handled since we were kids. Most of us have no idea what starvation is. We call it going on a cleanse, right? Or a diet, fasting. Yeah, we call it fasting. Right?
So we do it out of luxury. We do it out of because we're fat.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, we do it because our survival is handled.
Yeah.
But we've got such high levels. Now, even the old people, I was talking to Amy, I'll just talk to the people here. I was talking to Amy a few days ago, and I just said, have you and I ever, no matter whether we, got into debt or had this problem or that problem, or even if our businesses collapsed or anything, have you and I ever been homeless, bottom line, whatever? Now, I know some people, I've had times where I haven't had a place to stay, right? But I'm talking about food, shelter, people who care for us, a positive, a potential future, right? These are things that are survival issues. If we're not loved, if we don't have food, if we don't have good water, clean water, if we don't have some sort of way of being creative through growing food or buying food or being an artist or running a business or whatever, these are survival things. If we don't have people who love us, we've had that handled all the time. Have we gone through challenges? Have we, 50% of the world, maybe 40%, I'm not sure the exact figures, 40% of the people are already in the new paradigm, right? The old paradigm is very simple. It's life and living is all about survival. 8,000 years of that. the new paradigm doesn't negate survival, it includes it. And it is survival is handled and love is the bottom line. Now, for a massive number of people watching this, the vast majority, survival has been handled. Have you had challenges? Of course you have. Have you run out of money? Of course you have. Have you made millions? Some of you have. You know, but some people who've done that have killed themselves through drugs, overeating, you know, just bad habits, all sorts of stuff like that. They've created survival issues. But the point is, the first component of the new paradigm, survival is handled for a big majority of us in this world. It is. We're already in the new paradigm. But we've been sold this thing that, oh no, it isn't handled yet.
Yeah.
Until you get $5 million, $10 million, until you have a successful business, until you're really well known on the internet, until everybody loves the way you look. And all of that they're not survival issues, they're preferences. They're resource issues about, I need this resource in order to do this good work in the world, or to, you know, expand my possibilities as a human being. These are resources issues. They're not survival issues.
Or in order for me to feel safe and secure, I got to have all these conditions met. And I'm treating them as a survival issue.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And look,
and nobody,
the point is, here's the point. One, we're getting conned into believing that survival isn't handled yet. You're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the other part of it is survival is handled, new paradigm, and life and living is about love. And we have only scraped the surface of what love is. You know, we think it's romance, or I love this ice cream, or it's being infatuated. And all of those can be love. But love is the unexplored territory. When I say, and other people have said, we're entering a future that no one can imagine, it's because we've hardly explored the realms of love. And therefore, we can only imagine love in very limited forms. We have no comprehension, because love is the most expansive emotion. It's more than just an emotion, but it is the most expansive. You get into love and your life just, I mean, authentic love, not pretend love, not, you know, childish love, not whatever, but authentic, rich, true love, then your life expands and expands and expands and expands. Your ability to handle negative, constricting emotions expands and expands. Your forgiveness, your ability to be compassionate, to care, to reach out, to know, to reduce fear, particularly fear of loss, to be honest, vulnerable, to trust, to have pleasure, to have security, all of that, to produce all that stuff just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. Right? So I'm not saying the whole world is out of the old paradigm. It isn't. There's obviously major places in this world where there's starvation, human trafficking, greed, war, you name it, right? There's big chunks of the world. But if someone told me 50 years ago that the new age and the new world, in 50 years, 30 to 40% of this world would be there already, whether they're conscious of it or not, I would have gone, wow, 30, 40% changes everything. 10% can change everything, you know, but 30 or 40%. And we need to wake up to the fact that most of us have handled survival. And we get scared when we lose things, and we, you know, that fear of loss I was telling you about, the ultimate fear, you know, that I've got this money, I might lose it. I've got this house, I might lose it. You know, I've got this job, I might lose it. I've got this respect from all my, you know, my clients, but I might lose it. And it's like, it's just, you might.
Yeah,
but
it's
not going to threaten your survival in the lifestyle and the context that you live in. So the answer to that ultimate fear of loss, particularly around love, is man up, woman up, and love more. Right? It's like, I could lose this, then go for it more. Love it more, put more love into it, give more of yourself to it. But I could lose. Yeah, well, the only answer to that fear is to go for it, right? Love more. And love isn't buying a 500-foot yacht for billions of dollars. You know, love is about giving and responding and respecting. And you know, one of my great teachers, Lazarus, does brilliant stuff on this, you know, just very practical. This is what you do, and this is what comes out of doing that. And when you do that, you create this state of being that's emotional, but you're connected to it emotionally, because emotions connect us. It creates a relationship, right? But it connects us to a state of being where love is constantly expanding our reality. And there are so many of us who are doing well enough. Like you and I have gone through challenges with Thailand. You know, we're financing this whole community, my family, the community there. And we've gone through quite a lot of challenges, you know, in terms of financing it and building up awareness of what's going on there and empowering the people there, because they're so damn creative. You know, the only thing they lack is resources. They've got all the people, all the land, all the passion, vision, and everything that so-called ordinary human beings have. And we've gone through challenges. Have we survived? We've thrived.
Yeah, we have.
Yet there have been times when it feels like we've been emotionally, oh my God, we're not going to survive. And we do.
Yeah.
Easily. So that's a complete furphy. It isn't true. It's the people like us who go, hey, survival is handled. Can we help more people handle survival? Well, there's plenty of people still out there who could do with a hand.
Yeah.
Right? And this is one of the keys to this program I'm running now called Empower Yourself, because there's no program you can do that's going to empower you. The only person who can empower you is you. But you can receive the support and nurturing so that you're in a space where you're willing to do that. And you've got the resources you need.
Yeah, now I was just going to say, and so there comes up like, okay, so how do we get, you know, what are we going to do about this? And you're starting to answer that question. And I'm just going to add very snarkily, nobody can empower you. You can only empower yourself. Nobody, you know, there isn't a program that can do that. Contrary to popular belief and several gurus, programs, self-help books that say, I have the secret. I have the answer for you. Do my this, do my that. But yeah.
All those things are great if you use them to nurture your unique self. There has never been anyone ever like any one of us in this world, and there never will be again. And if we use those programs to nurture, support, give perspective, give awareness, give techniques, fantastic. But it's up to you. You can only empower yourself. You know, you make the choice. You can choose not to, you can choose to. But why would you do it? Why, to survive? No. To love. You don't need to empower yourself. You just need to survive. You need to find a community. You need to find something to eat. You need to nourish yourself to survive. You need to surround yourself with things that will allow you to grow as a human being, right? But you empower yourself so you can bring the very best of who you are to the table, to
What
the
do you mean
people
by
that you love.
empowered? What does that mean? What does it mean to empower ourselves? I keep hearing that a lot, and I worry that it's kind of getting overdone, but what does it really mean?
Okay, that's a really good point. Yeah, I'll put it really simply. To empower yourself is to plug into power, the source of power within you. Example, you may be the best refrigerator that has ever been produced in this world. You know, you've got freezers, you've got this, you've got that, chillers, you're big, you're sophisticated, you're just the most awesome refrigerator. But if you don't plug it into the socket in the wall, it's useless. It's not even a good cupboard.
But what is power?
That's a question for another time. But I'll put it very simply again. I mean, to explore that is a question for another time. But I'll put it really simply. It's the willingness and the ability and the willingness to act. That's what it is. But it comes from the source of life within us. Because it's very obvious as a human being that we are plugged into power. We put it on our breath.
Mm-hmm. We breathe.
Right? And it's very obvious. It's very obvious when we die, and I've been there when my mother took her last breath, literally right there up close to her, when someone is switched on and someone is switched off.
Okay.
Now, power is also a feminine energy. It's not about manipulation, domination, all the other things that we associate with being a powerful person or in politics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Power gives you the ability and the willingness to live, for instance. That's an action, to live,
Yeah,
to do
okay.
things. Okay. And there's more depth to it. There's layers to it. But if you're not plugged into power, you can't be yourself. And if you're pretending you're plugged into power, but you're not, anything you become is going to be a beautiful top-class refrigerator that's not plugged into the wall.
Okay.
So you'll never really realize your potential until you're plugged into power. Now, in this particular case, as a human being, you have a choice. It's not like the refrigerator that has to be plugged in. In our case, each one of us as human beings need to plug in. Now, people can say, plug yourself in. I love it when you're plugged in because we do it all the time, but people go, oh, I don't like you when you're like that, or no, that's not the way we do it here, or whatever. That's not supportive, that's not nurturing. Or people put on this incredible show, but they have to put so much energy into making sure it's acceptable or making sure controlling other people to allow them to be that way, or you name it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whereas when you're plugged into your power, and that's not attacked, and I mean that in the sense of constricted, when you're plugged into that power, you start to experience what you are truly capable of and who you are.
So plugged into the source in yourself.
Yeah. But again, it sounds theoretical, but you've got to get the feeling for this. There are times in everybody's life, and I don't care whether you're the most successful person in the world listening to this, or you think you're nobody or you don't matter, which is not true. There have been moments in your life when you've plugged in and you felt what you're capable of, or people have said, you shine, you're shining. That's when you're plugged in. Now, if you knew what it takes for you as a unique and an utterly unique individual to tap into that power and stay tapped into it, because the only person who decides whether you leave it or stay plugged in is you.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people can encourage you to unplug. I like the way you just sit in the corner and take up space, right? But I don't want you to freeze my vegetables or anything, right? It's like, I don't have to pay attention to you when you're just sitting in the corner, right?
Yeah.
But if you're plugged in, well, I've got to make use of you. You offer me the option to do this, this, and this, to preserve my food, to, take care of my family, to store food over a long, all these options open up, to chill my drink, right? To keep my kids happy because there's food on tap,
Yeah. And that's an example of an ability and willingness to act.
Yeah, plug it into the wall and the fridge can do its fridge thing. Well, when we're plugged, now we might think we're a cupboard, but when we get plugged into the wall and turned on, we go, oh my God, I've got all these capacities I didn't even realize were there. Or occasionally they'd turn on, but then someone would convince me to unplug.
Yeah. Oh, right? You're taking in too much electricity. I should unplug you.
Yeah, exactly.
Some weird metaphor like that.
So there are people out there who are unbelievably successful because they've known how to play the game, but they've never really plugged in.
Yeah.
Right? In a sense, they've drawn their power from other people. Sort of like a solar panel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're plugged in, when you're plugged into yourself, and this is scary because you have the capacity to handle survival built into you. And you can discover things that you're capable of that you had no idea of. And the proof of that is right till the moment we take our last breath, you're always discovering more about what you're capable of. Now, I'm 73, and I'm learning more now than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. Because your capacity to learn expands. Your capacity to enjoy expands. Now, taking care of your health helps. That's part of nurturing yourself. Finding out what you need, right? But the funny thing is you find out more of what you need when you're plugged in than when you're not. It gathers around you.
But again, something I think it's real, I want to go back to the part about we are unique individuals and each of us has a unique way of plugging in.
Absolutely.
A unique capacity, ability and willingness to act, or how that shows up, or how that expresses itself.
Yeah,
is really different.
That's why Look,
Right.
I've done 10,000 clients over the years, lots of programs,
Yeah.
live
Including
events, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, including you, right.
including
And,
you.
but right at the moment, I'm calling it, I don't have to do that because I've done it. I mean, I don't mind doing it, and I'll do more of it if people want me to. But if people don't, I'm fine. I mean, I've got my family in Thailand and people I'm working with. It's just, it's a beautiful life, right? Filled with incredible opportunity, the ability to work with highly creative people. Even if they don't have the resources, okay, help them find them, because these people have so much to give and so much that they've taught me so much. But I'm calling this Empower Yourself, this 9-week, I don't want to call it a program, really intensive examination of what's great about you. It's an examination of your uniqueness, because no one is the same.
Yeah. And I really love that. I really love that.
No one has truly realized what they're capable of until they've plugged in their unique way to life and lived as fully lit up, turned on, whatever you want to call it, as they choose to, not as everybody else demands to measure.
Yeah.
And they've enjoyed each moment of their life, and they have no idea what they're truly capable of in this life until they do that, or they've taken their last breath.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. And the only regret is, gee, and you hear this from people, who've been around people passing away. The regret is I didn't plug in, I didn't light up as much as I could, or as much as I would have felt satisfied with or fulfilled with.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That's a huge one.
Look, there are people living on tropical islands, who've survival is handled. And we wouldn't. I remember Tony Robbins saying he has a house in Fiji and he's running around doing stuff, and some of the locals going, "Hey, Tony, why don't you just relax and, come down the beach, the sun's going down." And it's like, who's the more fulfilled?
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's like,
Right. Now, I've had that too. I go to Thailand and I spend time in the rural community there, and we're building land, and there's the most incredible temple. And I look around, and these people are having a better quality of life, apart from the stress that maybe debt puts on them, or, normal lack of ability to have money to go to hospitals and stuff like that. But they've got all the resources. They're having as rich a life as anyone in the West. And in many cases, they're a lot more emotionally balanced and harmonious. In some cases, they're not. But they tend to experience the worst of that when they go to the cities. I know, because I've met a lot of them there. So I'm not condemning cities. I'm not against any of that. I'm totally for handling survival. And from my point of view, that gets you into the new world.
Yeah.
Right. And secondly, what gets you emotionally into the new world is you're struggling to survive as who you truly are if you're not plugged into power, real power. Right.
Yeah. Which again, is everything we talked about before. And it's completely unique to each person. There were times I talk to people about different things, and I always come back to the single most important asset in whatever you're doing, the single most important resource you have is yourself. And you need to know who you are in the matter of yourself, your life, your business, your community project, whatever you're doing. If you don't know who you are and you don't know what's great about you, as we often say in the West, play to your strengths. If you're not doing that, you're doomed. one way or another, it's not gonna work, because there's a part of you, there's a part of us inside that knows better. And there's a part of us that always that has a knowing that stops us, or that's the part that struggles, that wants to get out and wants to be seen, and such like that. And we talk about things like the universal need to be seen, to be known, to be heard. And it's occurring to me as I'm listening to you, it's like, oh my gosh, that's our true authentic selves, just begging to get out of that cocoon, that way we've mummified ourselves. And now, with everything that's going on around us, and it's all about, like you said, it's all about the love. And what we have is that great longing for love. I mean, we've got so many things breaking down that everybody feels are breaking down. And yeah, everybody wants to get back to love. It just seems really, really clear to me now. Everyone wants to, and we really need to get back to that great, great love.
Wow.
So I think
that's Amy just bringing her true self to the table, and you can see the impact that you just had there. Look, we're under a time limit.
Yeah.
I joke that the only thing that being an infinite being lacks is limitations, right? And we come here to enjoy limitations, right? But being by nature an infinite being, we still like to break the limitations even while we're enjoying the experience they give us.
Yeah.
And to do that, you've got to be tapped into that part of you where the power comes from, that infinite part of you.
Yeah.
And when you are, people light up. And it's genuine. It's not put on,
Yeah.
And that's what people are looking for. Things are breaking down at the moment, or apparently, well, they are, because their contribution to handling survival and making life about living life and living about love is not good, right? It isn't really helping. In fact, it's trapping us in survival is everything.
Yeah.
That's why they're breaking down.
In a way, has it run its course?
Yes, it's run its course. We've been there, done that. But most of us, at least most of the people watching this video, as far as survival is concerned, we're living in heaven, pretending it's like we're in hell.
Yeah.
Oh, this person hurt my feelings. Oh, this person's doing a terrible job politically. Oh, this doing this, yeah. And how much have you truly been homeless or lived in the streets or never had anything to eat? People have starved. Hundreds of millions of people have starved to death on this world. Put it in perspective. We're doing great. Now we need to, and even people who are doing really great, I don't care how successful you are, you can't tell me you've reached the end of where love can take you.
That's very true.
Right? Love can take you always more and more and more. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the beauties about love is it's naturally generous and it loves to share itself.
Yeah. There's a great...
Yeah, sorry, Amy, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not going to say the whole thing, but I'm reminded of the scriptural quote about love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast. And it was just, you're making me think of that. And yeah, so that's a big, and on that fun note.
Yeah, why don't we wrap it up? And
yeah, because we can do a lot more, but this has been great. Thanks for spending time with me on this. I feel it was really important to get it on record and share some of what we're looking at and what's possible. Because we got broken up, but we have hope and we have love, and we need to get back to that love, and it's there for us.
We need to be grateful for the gift of this life.
Yeah.
right? And then, if we've got little legitimate survival issues, deal with them. If you don't have them, find someone who does and help them, because that is a treasure. Each person you help is a treasure that has never existed, never will exist before. Anybody you give, that's what's behind Empower Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 50 years of distilling everything I've done down to how can I take another person to the next level. I don't care whether it's in sport or in business or in their personal life, their relationships, in, fishing.
Yeah.
How do you take them to the next level? Because there is nothing that gives me more pleasure than to see someone else light up and plug in. I guess that's why my last name, and it genuinely is my last name, I was born with
Yeah,
it,
it is.
Power. I love to help people plug in and then turn up the energy. And the beauty about the power of love is it'll turn one great refrigerator into a massive new world.
Mega refrigerator.
I can't imagine the evolution of a refrigerator, but I do know the imagination. I can imagine the evolution of human beings, and we've hardly scraped the surface of what so-called ordinary human beings are truly capable of. And it's not in terms of getting attention or being remembered throughout history. There's a little autistic girl who lives next to my wife in Thailand.
Yeah, little Mai is her name, right?
Yeah. And you stand in her presence, and she's obviously autistic, and she runs around. She's in that, and she's growing. No one pays any special attention to her except to protect her, from running across the road or something. But you stand in her presence, and it's like standing in the sun on a winter's day, and the sun comes out, and there's this glorious warmth that fills you. What we are truly capable of as individual human beings, we've hardly scraped the surface of. And it's in many, many other areas than just achieving, which is one part of power, right? It's love has so many dimensions to it, and power does as well. And that's why I like to focus in on each individual and find their unique expression and connection to it, so they can be the living example of that, and we can discover so much more. Not only do they have a wonderful life, but it enriches everyone that they ever come in contact with. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Leave it at that. And we'll put a link to the info about Empower Yourself in the video description, so people can click on it and know what's up. But this has been great. Thank you very much.
Look, whatever you do, realize the more you plug into authentic power within yourself, the richer your experience of life will become. And that's the greatest gift you can bring to the table. However you do that, if I can help, I'd love to. It's my greatest joy and pleasure to do that. But whatever you do, live your life to your fulfillment and satisfaction. And I don't mean as you're only there when you've done it. Every step towards that. My wife is always saying to me, one step, one step, one step. Every step, every moment is a precious opportunity to light up and to give. And I truly, Excalibur Institute is about bringing that, what's great about you, to the table.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Bye.
Pleasure. Thanks, Amy.